Greetings. This is the Verbal Antidote channel. And I'm back. Sorry for the glare on the TV. This is a video, a response about Janet Jackson being come for by the media and certain celebrity figures we all know who came for when she owned the VP, Kamala Harris. This is Candice on. First off, I want to let y'all know the video I made with her. It was my reactionary video. Just because I made the video doesn't mean nothing. Alright? She's held in great respect and honor, but she's like a shock jock content creator. She say things in the African American community that's gonna get you on your feet. I don't agree with everything she said, but she's a great content creator. Alright? And y'all know the rest. Alright? Without further ado, this is from Candice Owens in response about Janet Jackson. Without further ado, here we go.
All right, guys, happy Friday. Well, if we've learned anything this week, it's that the media should have just left Janet Jackson alone. That really is the lesson. That really is the moral. I mean, I didn't want to be doing this. I told my husband I was going to chill for the rest of the year because we've had enough excitement this year. Fired, banned from YouTube. I was like, well, I'm just going to relax. But then the media came out and tried to paint Janet Jackson as mentally unbalanced. And I'll be honest, something came over me. I was just like... And so here we are. Welcome back to Candice. All right, I'm actually really happy it's Friday because I feel like we need the weekend to go through all of the emails and all the documents, and I'm just so obsessed with this now that I just need a day break, or a 2-day break rather, to really dive into this, because now we have an entire family, and I need to look into specifically the Orris's family, other relatives. Obviously, I'm not going to share any of their information. We've found a lot, but it would help. It would help us better understand why Kamala is hiding an entire piece of her family. It's completely bizarre. So what we want to do today, because so many of you guys are emailing me, is to just organize what we know for a fact, plus tell you a couple of new things that we've discovered in the last few hours. And then if you want to send me more stuff, just make sure it's one of the things, or it's pertaining to one of the things that we have a question mark on. So first, we're going to just go through a timeline of the relevant people. Let's start with Beryl Magdalene Christie. So we're going to actually give you guys this timeline so you can look through it. Anything that is italicized means that it's still a question mark. We're still wondering whether or not this document could be Beryl or could be somebody else, and we're awaiting a confirmation. What we know for a fact is that Beryl was born in 1917. We know this because we have the birth certificate, and Iris's name, which is Beryl's mother, is listed as Iris Finnegan on the birth certificate. Again, Beryl is spelled slightly differently, but we know because of Kamala's book that name spelling shifted over the years and was also spelled with a Y. We then have a document, and this is highly suspicious, that Beryl birthed Donald Harris. Allegedly, this could be Kamala's father. The only problem is that we're looking here not at a birth certificate, but a death certificate, which would put the birth of Donald around 1938. It looks like this infant died just a few months short of turning 2 years old. So could have been born in 1938, died in 1940 November. And it says, oddly, that this is the son of Albert Harris, so that's confusing. But this is the only document that we could find for a Donald Harris that has a mother named Beryl Harris. And again, that Donald died. So this one is a question mark. We know for a fact, however, that Beryl Magdalene Finnegan was married in 1944. She was 25 years old. We have that marriage certificate, and she was married to Lawford Newland. And here's where things get strange, because we were able to locate the divorce document between Lawford Newland and Beryl Magdalene, and that divorce took place in 1956. Okay, so they were married. That would mean if Donald Harris, J. Harris, was in fact born, Kamala's father was in fact born in 1938, and they didn't divorce until 1956, and he grew up with Beryl, as he signifies in his book, My Mother, Miss Beryl, or in his Jamaican paper that he wrote about his ancestral roots, that would mean throughout the majority of his young life, from the time he was 6 to the time he was 18, his mother, Miss Beryl, was married to Lawford Newland, and yet he declines to mention Lawford Newland at all. Major, major question mark. We move on to a possible death certificate, and I feel very strongly that this is the correct death certificate. 1960 for a Beryl Christie Finnegan. We are learning here that she died of fibroids, and as we know, if this is a woman who suffered with birth, this could make sense. The story could make sense that she died a couple of years after she got divorced. But again, we're not completely sure. We're looking for something that's concrete, where we can say, yes, this Beryl Finnegan died in 1960, which then makes Kamala's timeline of having met her grandmother who had died before she was even born highly suspicious. Then we jump to 1995, because people have been sharing this other possible death certificate. And I'm going to rank this as a very low likelihood. One, because somebody sent me an email and they gave me a strong lead that this could actually be a different Beryl Christie Clark. And we're going to look into that further. But also because the person listed as having been there when she died was Douglas Finnegan. And we don't have a Douglas Finnegan in this family. And also, if you look at the date of death and the age, 81 years old, that would mean that this individual was born in 1914, which would have been before our Beryl was born. So we're going to continue to rule this one out by trying to locate who that Douglas Finnegan is that signed. But I rank this as a very low likelihood. We want to keep it here as possible because it's not entirely ruled out. Now let's jump over to Oscar Joseph Harris, Beryl's alleged husband, who I am now certain was never her husband, and I'll explain why. Okay, we know for a fact that Oscar Joseph Harris, who Kamala purports is her grandfather in her book, was born in 1914 on April 5th. We have that birth document, making it all the more suspicious that we can't find her alleged father's, Donald Harris's, who was born after him. We then know, which we discovered yesterday, super huge developments, that he married and that wedding was reported in the local newspaper, the Daily Gleaner, and you can see, even though it's a shadowed photo, that very much looks like the photo of Oscar Joseph Harris that she shared. And because of the details that were provided in this article, we know for a fact that it is him, because it lists the fact that his brother Newton stood in as best man, and we know for a fact that Newton is the brother. So we know for a fact that they got married, and he died in 1976 in St. Catherine. We have his death certificate. Now I want to point this out to you because this is actually something that's quite odd. Allegedly, he only had one child, and that child was Kamala's father. That's what we are told, that his only child was Donald J. Harris. But something's not right there, because if you look at this death certificate,
I want to say, y'all, she's very precise content creator. See why she's so popular, y'all. You might not like her. Yeah, you might hate her. But she's very precise in gathering information. I gave her 2 thumbs up on that one. She digs deep. You might hate her. But anyway, she digs deep. Alright. I can tell her now once she makes this right here. And the joins. She's got 877K views in one day. See what popular she is, y'all? So in one day, she almost got 1 million views. That would be about 150,000 more views. And next week, she'll have like 1.2 million and about Sunday or Monday. Alright, without further ado, let her continue.
Look at the bottom here. You see that the person that is the informant, letting them know that he died, is Christopher Harris. And when you look under, it asks, what is your qualification? Essentially, what is your qualification to inform? And it's his son. It says in parentheses, his qualification is son. And so his son was there, and his son's name is Christopher Harris, not Donald Harris. And I'm just wondering, who is Christopher Harris? This is a major question mark. Donald Harris, do you have a brother named Christopher Harris? If not, is Donald Harris actually the son of Oscar Harris? We'll get into more of that later. Okay, now let's look at Viora Anita Cambridge Harris, because we know that she got married. What we know for a fact about her is that she was born in 1927. We were able to locate her birth certificate. Yes, Viora Cambridge was born in St. Elizabeth, Jamaica. We know, again, as we already mentioned, that she married Oscar Joseph Harris, and we know that because there was a huge announcement about the wedding. And then we wanted to be able to track how long they stayed married for. Did they actually stay married until he died? And it looks like they did, in fact, stay married until he died. And this is how we know. Her name appears in that Daily Gleaner in 1966. So in the corner there, you can see that it says Vioris Harris. It says Mrs. Vioris Harris, implying that she is still married, and she has been appointed to the senior postmaster position. So we know that they were still very much married at this time. And then we know that he died in 1976, and she kept his name by choice, okay, when she was naturalized in the United States. Okay?
All right, y'all.
We found her documents of naturalization. I'm going to show that to you. This is in 1991. And there is a portion of this where it explicitly asks her if she wants to change her name. So she has the option here to go back to Cambridge. Her husband is now dead, and she decides she doesn't want to do that. You can see number 4 there. I request that my name be changed to none. So when she was naturalized, she kept her married last name, which is Vioris Anita Harris. So major problem here again when we get into Donald J. Harris's story that he told in the newspaper about his Jamaican heritage, because we now know that they got married and then they stayed married until he died. So Mass Oscar the entire time was married to this
Kamala Harris,
whose name is Vioris Cambridge Harris. We then know that at some point she was able to abandon her marriage and maybe just filed something that he was deceased. We have not located that form, so that's another question mark, but she did remarry a man named Errol McPherson, okay, in 1994.
Media attacking Janet Jackson, all right?
Because there are records down in Florida that indicate that. And then we know that she died in 2019 in Broward County. Of course, I've already shared with you yesterday the funeral website. So you guys are like me, you like to take notes. We're leaving this up for you so that you can know exactly what it is that we have and follow this timeline as we continue to investigate it. So let's talk about the major issues that our timeline presents. So I believe it is undeniable, having seen her face and her smile, that Vioris is very clearly related to Kamala Harris.
Look, y'all.
Okay? So obviously we naturally think that this must be Kamala Harris's grandmother. But here's a problem. In order for that to be Kamala Harris's grandmother,
Here we go.
Vioris would have had to have birthed Donald Harris, Kamala's father, when she was just 11 years old.
Uh-oh.
I find that to be extremely unlikely. Extremely unlikely that Vioris, and she would have been at Cambridge then, so they would have had to have had some sort of affair before they got married, okay? So he was born in 1938. She would have had to have been pregnant when she was 10, or she would have been pregnant in 1937, gave birth in 1938. Then they decided to hold off on the wedding until 1944. You know, maybe they did. Maybe he got a 10-year-old pregnant and they waited until she was older to get married. But I think that's extremely unlikely that an 11-year-old girl gave birth. And if she did give birth, I don't think her father would have walked her down the aisle as he did. We learned that from the entry in the Gleaner, the Daily Gleaner. It was announced that her father, V.S. Cambridge, held her hand as they walked down the aisle. I think your dad, if some random person knocked you up at the age of 10, probably wouldn't have done that. Probably would have chased him with a shotgun. I'm imagining here. But that was what we would have to believe in order for this to be Kamala's grandmother. And the other thing that I keep asking myself is, why lie about this? Why is Kamala hiding this woman who she's very clearly closely related to? That's the other issue that I have, because okay, yeah, I get it. They always want to lean into being black, but people don't have a problem if you just have one white grandparent. You know, she could have tried to grift this in a different way. She could have tried to complicate it in a different way, but she was dead set on hiding this woman.
Uh-oh.
Why? There's something here that we're missing about Vioris Cambridge Harris that presents a problem for Kamala Harris.
Thanks for watching.
Is it because of the age gap? Maybe.
The channel.
The thing is, Donald J. Harris is the biggest problem in our story. We keep arriving at the Donald J. Harris problem. This is what we need to really focus all of our attention to, because we don't have any birth certificate for him, despite the fact that we have birth certificates for everyone else around him. We've got birth certificates for his uncles. We have birth certificates for his father. We have birth certificates for every single person in his orbit.
That's what all about.
We have a birth certificate for Vioris. There's no reason, it's very clear, that they had no troubles keeping records in this family.